Well, good evening, everybody. Happy Friday night to everybody, but not a happy 2-day stay in Brooklyn for the Syracuse basketball Orange. They leave the Big Apple empty-handed, losing to Texas on Thursday night and losing to Texas Tech on Friday night. The final score tonight, Texas Tech 79, Syracuse 74. This is Syracuse basketball postgame presented by Krause Health, the exclusive healthcare partner for Syracuse Athletics. A lot to go over here on this one. We're going to hear from our Syracuse Sports Insiders coming up shortly. You guys know the drill by now, but if you don't, being a Syracuse Sports Insider gives you direct text message access to me. Plenty of great feedback from you during this one tonight. Your comments get highlighted exclusively on this post-game show, our football post-game show, and the Syracuse Sports Podcast as well. Hope you're subscribed on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube for Syracuse Sports, so you know when these post-game shows go live as well. So we'll get to our Syracuse Sports Insiders coming up here a bit to see what you had to say about this game tonight. I have a feeling that Syracuse is going to look back and regret that they did not pick up a win here. These were two prime opportunities for Syracuse to get a quad one win, and to know that they lost these games by a total of 9 points. There are only two more prime non-conference opportunities left for Syracuse. Now, Notre Dame lost to Elon tonight. Notre Dame fits the quality win qualification, if you will, for quad one at this point. We'll see if they slide a little bit by the time that Syracuse gets to them, but they're an ACC game. They slipped those two ACC games in December before Syracuse starts the full slate of conference play in January. You know the drill, guys. Non-conference games are important for your NCAA tournament resume. Syracuse needed to pick up 3 or 4 more than they did a year ago. They finished 20-12 last year. They needed a couple more this year in the bank to take pressure off how many of those quad one wins, how many of those quad two wins, quality wins you're going to have to pick up in what is going to be a tough ACC conference, and a tough ACC conference for this team, the way that they are just kind of so close yet so far away in a lot of ways, as we're going to discuss here. So it's good in a way. Think of the vibe from last night. Syracuse played better. It was a loss, but they looked better in that game than they did really even in their 3 wins. I think people felt good about last night, but the thing is about playing that next night. Quad one opportunity. Texas Tech and St. Joe's played a heck of a game Thursday night. Texas Tech, we're going to go over some numbers here in a second here. Just incredible how efficient they were in certain ways, but that stings. And the 2 non-conference games left on the schedule that will impress a committee, that will stand out, are Maryland back in the Barclays Center on December 21st. And before that, Syracuse has to play Tennessee in the ACC SEC Challenge. Tennessee, which is a top 12 team, I believe, this week. They're a top 5 team in the KenPom rankings. So you wanted one in your back pocket. And to know that they had both Texas and Texas Tech in their sights, came back from a 16-point deficit against Texas. Not so big of a deficit tonight. They started better in this game tonight, but they were Clark Griswold in this game. If you've ever seen National Lampoon's European Vacation, remember Clark Griswold? He's driving around the circle, and he can't get left, right? Look, kids, Big Ben, Parliament. Syracuse just couldn't get the lead in this game. And you look at some numbers here from Texas Tech tonight. They led in this game for 31 minutes and 52 seconds of game time. Texas Tech only had 3 turnovers in this entire game, and 2 of those were early. So they essentially had 1 turnover from the first minute of the game on, which is just an incredible efficiency, and they moved the ball. 17 assists tonight. Syracuse had just 8 assists. By the way, Syracuse turned the ball over 13 times. So that certainly hurt their cause. What were we talking about last night, right? What was the reason Syracuse lost amongst a few to Texas last night? Free throws. Hashtag free throws matter. Uncle Brent talks about it all the time. Syracuse was awesome at the free throw line tonight. 24 of 28. They made their first 11 free throws. They were pitching a perfect game for a while here. Chris Bell made 11 free throws out of 11 himself at the free throw line. And it's a good thing that Syracuse hit those. They mattered in the sense that if they didn't, they would have lost this game by a bigger margin. They couldn't kickstart the offense in the second half. the thing is, Syracuse was kind of stuck in between tonight. It was kind of a purgatory game. They weren't horrible on defense, but they weren't great on defense. They weren't bad on offense, but they weren't great on offense tonight. They were kind of stuck in between, and Texas Tech just took full advantage of that. So J.J. Starling with 27 points. We mentioned Chris Bell had 22, 11 of that coming at the free throw line. We'll talk about him in a minute here. But to see Texas Tech play that efficiently, move the ball the way that they did, to lead for 31 minutes, 3 turnovers on the whole night. Now, of Syracuse's 13, let me see here. So Syracuse had, my box score says 12. I think it was actually 13. 18 points off turnovers. That adds up. Syracuse lost the second half of this game 48-43. It was a lot bigger of a margin until they chipped away at the end here. And look, JJ had 14 in the first half, ends up with 27. JJ Starling is everything you could ask for, right? He's a little fatigued tonight. He played, I think, every minute of last night's game. If not, he wasn't out long, if he was at all. Last night, he plays 36 minutes tonight. Eddie Lampkin had 8 rebounds tonight and 4 points in 28 minutes. Laboring out there, fatigued out there. It's got to be tough for Eddie Lampkin to be playing back-to-back nights with the back issues, no pun intended, that he has. He's got that wrap on his back, clear tightness on his back. He can't get a lot of lift. He's not. Somebody joked with me and texted me, if you could you put a piece of paper under the lift when Eddie Lampkin jumps right now? He just can't. I mean, he's 6'11", so he's getting rebounds, and he's a big guy. He takes up a lot of space, but he can't get a lot of lift off the court right now. He's fighting through it. What a spark he was last night, but that's tough to go back-to-back with the back injury that he's dealing with. Donnie Freeman is somebody we got to talk about here. 5 points, 13 rebounds on the night for the youngster. So a few numbers there. Syracuse shoots 42% overall. Texas Tech 43%. You see how tight things were? Syracuse missed 4 free throws. Texas Tech missed 4 free throws. They were 17 of 21, but it was the efficiency. The points off turnovers was huge, and Texas Tech just moved the ball a little bit better than Syracuse in this game. So it is a frustrating, caught in the middle type of situation here, because I'm going to go by what Red Autry said last night. I've got a couple of things that he said last night. I haven't watched the whole press conference yet. I've just caught a little bit here and there since the game ended. But Red came to the podium last night, and I think feels a lot of what you feel. There's no moral victories here. It's frustrating to come up short. They have to learn how to win these games. And Red Autry needs to learn how to coach these games. He did not have a great game tonight. His lineups were strange. His substitutions were slow and strange. I don't get his, and again, I want to be as critical but fair about this as I can. I don't get his fascination with Jaquan Carlos as the point guard of this team. It's just not paying dividends, especially for what he said tonight is the reason he keeps him in, which we'll get to here in a second. But there was one lineup in particular, and we can go through all the lineups with a fine-tooth comb here, but there was one in particular that he went with that I just thought was a little odd. And I understand why he did it in a way, but there was a lineup out there in the second half that I was surprised to see. Think of that great lineup that they had out there last night with Lucas Taylor playing defense, and it was a great lineup. Let me go back to my notes from last night just to so I have it correct. I don't know if I have the right notebook in my hands here. I don't. But the lineup they played in the second half last night, which was, I think it was JJ. Oh, boy, I don't want to screw it up off the top of my head, but I believe it was JJ, Chris Bell, Eddie Lampkin, Lucas Taylor, and, Jair Davis. That was the lineup last night, which he played a bulk of the second half. Didn't get in the way, didn't make a lot of lineup changes, but the sub he made for Carlos at the end was a little odd, right? Tonight he was all over the place with these lineups. So the lineup tonight, which I really thought raised a lot of eyebrows from people, and you'll hear it when we go to our Syracuse Sports Insiders in a bit here. Jaquan Carlos, Elijah Moore, Donnie Freeman, JJ, and Jair Davis. A little bit of a smaller lineup there, but that's just one example of just things didn't mesh. It just felt like he was behind. He was not sharp. I think it's fair to bring up, maybe go to the zone to mix things up a little bit. It worked at last night. Now, last night was the zone has almost become like the press. When Syracuse needs a spark and a change on defense, the zone is sitting there. I just don't feel like it's almost like he did too much, right? Last night it was perfect. He got out of the way until right at the end when he slipped on the banana peel. So Look, I'm not impressed with what I'm seeing with these lineups for the most part. I think last night, that's the strange thing. Last night, he nailed it for most of the second half. Tonight, it was just odd. And Autry admitted it in an earlier press conference this year. He's still mixing the lineups. He's still finding the right people in the right spots. And it leads to people asking questions about, there's always, some savior on the bench, right? People keep asking about Chance Westry, okay? And I'll just give you what Red said about Chance Westry tonight. Quote, could I play Chance right now? Yes, but he's only been able to run 1 or 2 minutes. Do you know how hard it is to get into game shape? So you're talking about a guy that had 2 major knee injuries and then an illness. He's not in game shape yet. I give up on Chance Westry. If he plays, he plays. If he doesn't, he doesn't. I'm going to sit here and tell you that the success or failure of Syracuse basketball this year is not going to be on the shoulders of Chance Westry. He is a complementary part. If he gets in, great. If he doesn't, I'm kind of over it, guys. You guys ask a lot of questions about Chance. I understand why you do, but he's not some magical savior sitting there on the bench that's going to come in and save Syracuse's butt. The guy we need to be asking about, and I don't know if he was asked about tonight, so I want to be fair about this, because, again, I haven't seen the whole press conference at this point. The guy we need to be asking about is Kyle Cuff. Where is Kyle Cuff? Why does he not play a minute in Brooklyn with Carlos? Carlos was a little better tonight, but that's the thing. Carlos is not justifying the minutes that he's getting out there. And what did Autry say about that tonight? And this is not a whole explanation, but, quote, we brought JC in to get other people the ball. I'm not giving up on him this early on. Jaquan Carlos tonight had 3 assists. He had 3 assists in this game. He's not getting other people the ball at the rate he should. He had 2 last night. He had 4 points, 3 assists in 26 minutes. Took a couple of bad shots, took a bad 3. I get why you're not giving up on him, but you don't have to keep him in there as your starting point guard right now. So, look, I'm going to reiterate that. I'm going to stay on that till he proves me wrong. Stop asking about Chance Westry. Let's start asking about Kyle Cuff. And I don't want to sound like there's somebody on the bench that could come in and save you. But why not play him? I don't understand that. He has discussed wanting to go deeper on the bench. Is he hurt? Is there something we don't know about? I just want to know, right? But if Cuff can't beat out Carlos, that's an issue too. Cuff got some time last year, but couldn't work his way onto the court. This is a guy that, was signed by Kansas at one point. He's a talented player. He plays hard. He can shoot the 3. He can move on defense. I just want to see it. I don't get why Carlos is so much on a higher pedestal than Kyle Cuff at this point. I just need to know. So when we're asking about lineup changes, I think we've got to stop asking about Westry and start kind of figuring out what's going on with Kyle Cuff. Peter Mastorovich, we got to mention tonight. The maestro. He did not play on Thursday against Texas. He plays tonight, gave Syracuse a lift. Lucas Taylor is this team's best defensive player. I don't think there's any question about that. Maestro can play a little defense. He's a smart player. His dad was a pro basketball player. He was playing in some pro leagues overseas before he came here. Remember, he's a freshman. He's not a transfer, but he's got some great international experience. 6 rebounds tonight. I like the lift that he gave Syracuse off the bench. Let me circle back to Donnie Freeman. Donnie Freeman had 13 rebounds in this game. Here's where Autry has got to grab that whiteboard and draw up some plays. Freeman he is drifting, is the word I'm thinking about. He's drifting out there too much. He doesn't, and if they're telling him to be somewhere and he's not, that's on him. But you got to recognize he's talented, but he's a freshman. You got the old KISS theory. You got to keep it simple. I won't call you stupid, but you got to keep it simple. This is where Autry and Griffin and the coaches on the staff, okay, whoever you want to point at, they've got to draw a place for Freeman around the hoop. He's not a shooter. He can shoot the 3. I don't know how many 3s you want this guy shooting. Get him open, right? They need to get him open. That to me is coaching. That's a freshman. You've got to put him in a position to score and make an impact on the offensive end. So there's things that Freeman just has to learn by being out there. He's still got that deer in headlights look a little bit. He's not living, and again, we're only 5 games into the season here, people, but he came in as a top 10 player in that class. And we're in the one and done era. We're in an era where that ranking puts, you could say it's unfair, but you've got to come in and make an impact. There's plenty of freshmen that come in and make, and I'm not saying the guy's got to drop 25 points a night, but he's got to have a better offensive contribution. And again, I don't put that on him. I put that on Autry, on the coaches. They've got to figure that out. How do you set up plays for this guy where he's most successful, where he's shooting close to the basket, he's attacking the rim? But, I mean, the guy's got 13 rebounds. He's justifying his appearance out there. Defensively, he's got some work to do, but name me a player on this team short of Lucas Taylor that doesn't right now. So I think that's something they got to figure out. Chris Bell, at 22, he was 11 of 11. He hit a couple of threes, which is encouraging. Here's what Chris Bell has to do. Chris Bell has to have a shorter memory. Chris Bell has to forget about his mistakes. Bell, here we are 15 minutes into the postgame show. I didn't even mention, killer missed three. Syracuse had an opportunity, so they come down. It's 69-64. Bell with a great defensive play on the other end. He has his moments. He had some great defensive plays. He had a couple of threes. He was excellent at the free throw line tonight, right? 69-64. Bell could not have had a more wide open shot. On the wing, there it is. He hits that shot. It's 69-62. The lid would have blown off the place. It was not a huge crowd tonight, not a lot of energy in the crowd tonight, but the fans that were in that place were Syracuse fans. 2 nights in a row, Syracuse has had a distinct home court advantage over 2 teams from Texas and could not take advantage of it. He hits that three at 69-67. Now, all night, Texas Tech would answer whatever Syracuse would do. So they might come down and score and keep it out of range. But, man, it just felt like he hits that three. It could have been a lot different. Couldn't have set it up better for Chris Bell, who shoots slow. He's a little quicker off his three-point shot, but he's kind of a deliberate shooter, for lack of a better term. Wide open. Missed it. Swings again. It's a 5-point swing right there. Huge, huge miss for Chris Bell in that spot. But like I said, he's got to get over things quicker. He pouts. There's just an aura and an energy when something goes wrong for him. He's a veteran now. He's just turned the page, man. Go up the court, right? That affects your teammates. That affects younger guys like Freeman and Moore and some of these players that are looking at that. That's not okay, right? It's okay to be frustrated. Every guy kind of will show frustration in some ways, but at least bust your ass up the court and stop whining about calls and stop and miss plays. And he's kind of got that perfectionist mentality. Like, he did a great interview with Donna DeToda before the season on syracuse.com that I would encourage you guys to read. Like, he thinks every shot's going in. He's in the right mind frame in some ways, but everybody knows somebody like that, a type A personality that if one thing goes wrong, if it doesn't go exactly according to plan, it completely throws him off. I'm more of a go with the flow guy, right? I'm a procrastinator. I just kind of roll with life. There's certain things that I plan, but I am definitely somebody that can roll with the punches in life. But there are people, if it doesn't go exactly according to how it's laid out, it really throws them off. And I'm not trying to psychoanalyze Chris Bell here, but I think he's one of those guys, right? Just get over it quicker. You're a leader. Get up the court. Get over the mistakes. And I just think that negative aura can affect this team for a possession or two afterwards. Easy for me to say. I'm not out there on the court, but you can see it on the court, and it certainly affects the way this team plays. So that about covers a lot of the highlights tonight. I know you guys have more thoughts here, and I want to see what our Syracuse Sports Insiders have to say about this one. But again, guys, I come back to the thought here that you had 2 winnable games. See, the thing is, they have played better. Overall, they played better in these 2 games, which were losses, than they did in their first 3 wins. I don't think there's any disputing that, right? Tonight, they weren't, I'll go back to what I said at the beginning. They weren't awful on defense, but they weren't great. They weren't awful on offense, but they weren't good enough, weren't great. It was just kind of there. Like, they struggled, particularly in the second half. They started off 4 of 13 shooting. Texas Tech gave them enough of a cushion. They led for 31 minutes. Every time Syracuse knocked on the door, they couldn't get in, right? So I'll give Texas Tech credit for that. It's interesting, though, because Toppin for Texas Tech last night had 22 and 18. Tonight, 15 and 6. You held their best offensive weapon in check. Texas Tech came to New York as one of the better three-point shooting teams out there, certainly at the Power 5 level. 4 of 20 last night, 8 of 24 tonight, but not killer. Syracuse was 6 of 21 from three-point range. Bell had 3, JJ had 2, and Elijah Moore stuck one in as well. And I think Moore is continuing to give this team some good minutes. He plays 18 minutes tonight. That's a guy you want to see on the court, and you need another three-point shooter out there for sure at this point, with Bell being your lead guy in that department. So, again, it's like a purgatory loss. They're just stuck somewhere. Stuck in the middle with you, right? Frustrating, though, because you're going to look back and you're going to say, man, you lost to 2 quad 1 teams by a total of 9 points. It'd be one thing if you didn't belong on the court with these teams, the problems from the first 3 games of the season continued, and you're just like, man, this is going to be a long year, and maybe it still will. But it's so frustrating, right? When you see a team make the improvements, hang with these guys, but just can't get left. Look, kids, Big Ben, right? So I get the frustration on that one, and it puts more pressure on you now to beat. Tennessee is going to be a very tall task, particularly on the road, right? Maryland back at Barclays. We'll see. That's a month from yesterday, December 21st, right? We'll see what kind of improvements they make between then and now that they can try and grab what still should be a quality win, right? Can you snag a quality win over Notre Dame, which is an ACC game, but this team needs quality non-conference wins, and they don't have any at this point. And you're like, well, Brent, come on. It's November 22nd. You guys know how this works. You got to bank these. This is why you play in the Maui Classic last year, the Legends Classic, to have these opportunities on the schedule. And there's only 2 left. 2 quality non-conference games. Georgetown's not there. They're 1/10 in Ken Pom. That's not going to be a quality win, non-conference. At least I think so. Maybe go ahead and prove me wrong, Georgetown. Bucknell doesn't fit that. Cornell's next for Syracuse. They're like 225th in Ken Pom. Yeah, it's not helping. Maybe Colgate will turn out as they usually do as a Patriot League champion, but right now that's not gonna be the difference between getting in and out of the tournament if that's your only non-conference win, right? So undue pressure on the team. It's trying to come together and all those early season thoughts, but I don't make the rules. That's how the net rankings work. That's how the committee looks at it, and those are the wins you got to get. In Syracuse, they were in both of those games in Brooklyn, and they let them off the hook, as a great football coach once said. To the Syracuse Sports Insiders, Mike T says Syracuse got essentially 2 home games against quality opponents and couldn't deliver. It shouldn't be acceptable for this program, but it has become the norm. Look, Red said it last night. No moral victories, can't close. We're not, they're not, as a coach, you have to note the progress, but he's right there with you. No more excuses, get the wins, right? Go by what the coach says, and he's right there with you. I haven't seen everything he said tonight, but I would imagine his tone was not much different on that. From Mahir, said, I attended this game tonight live and was disappointed. No moving, no cutting, no motion on offense. 2 winnable games. This is a poorly coached team right now. From Gary D, the frustration tonight from the Barclays Center was there as well. Gary was sending me a lot of text courtside. Appreciate that, my friend, as was Mahir, by the way. And Micah T. Frustration tonight was the continued defensive lapses, the problematic shooting percentage, and the odd lineup decisions by Autry. This was the theme tonight. A lot of you guys have been saying this. Robbie T, for us to be the team we're capable of, we need more games from Starling and Bell like we saw tonight, but we also need consistent double-doubles from Freeman, Davis, and Lampkin. He adds this: it would be awful nice to get a boost from Westry if and when he's back. Again, guys, if Chance plays, great. If he doesn't, he doesn't. Like, I'm just kind of over it at this point. You've won. You've beaten me. You win. I can't take it anymore. Now, I'll keep asking, right? I'll keep asking. We'll keep seeing what the deal is. Red said it tonight after the game. He's not in game shape yet. Okay, right? But I'm just not counting on Chance Westry to save the day. I'd love to be wrong about that. The guy we need to be asking about, though, is Kyle Cuff. What's going on with that? From Keith B. Brent, I see improvement. But with these 2 quad 1 losses, I find it hard to believe they can make it up in conference play, as that is always tougher. From Glenn B, who says, I just don't like Red's method of subbing. Seems like subs come in at a certain time and not when needed. Very slow in reacting to game time situations. Roland B says, I think this team showed a lot of improvement these last 2 games. Had to take better care of the basketball, but JJ is showing himself as the leader, and Chris Bell played great. I don't know if Chris Bell played great. I don't know if I would qualify for that. 22 points, 11 from the free throw line, a couple great defensive plays. I'll grant you that, but numbers don't always tell the whole story there. I wouldn't say he played great. He played good. Missed that open 3, though. That's what you're there for. You got to make that shot. Got to make that shot. From Fady, he says, I have to be honest, I feel much more optimistic about this team with these 2 losses than I did with the 3 wins. They're young and just starting to play together, and I feel like the foundation is just coming together. I mean, you're not wrong to note some of these things. It's just the game is different now. You don't have time for all those things that you're to develop and come together. It's like, you got to create instant chemistry. You got to grab non-conference wins. You got to figure out how to accelerate the process today in college basketball. Not easy, but that's how it is. Mark B, it's early, but it looks like another season without an NCAA tournament bid. If Red can't turn it around and get us in the tournament by next year, I'm afraid he may not be the right choice. And that's it, Mark. He's got this year. He's got next year. Syracuse cannot miss the tournament 4 years in a row. You cannot go a presidential cycle, an Olympic cycle without making the tournament. That is not the orange standard, to use somebody's words, right? We all know that. But you have, and I said this the night that Kiyan Anthony committed, you have the beacon over the hill. You have Anthony next year. You have Sadiq White next year. We'll see what Aaron Womack and Luke Fennell bring to the table, but that's a highly recruited, highly touted recruiting class coming in, right? Year by year, this changes. The transfer portal can change your team, can make you a contender instantly. It can also accelerate decelerate the patience that people have to see results. It's this year, it's next year. That's going to determine Autry's fate. That will be 4 years as coach, and that will, or 3. But it'll be enough. It'll be enough to make that determination, right? It'll be 3 years. Last year, this year, next year. But if they do, for some reason, miss the tournament this year and next year, that'd be 4 straight years. 5. My math's all over the place tonight. So Syracuse has missed the tournament 3 years in a row coming in. This would be 4. That would be 5 next year. That's no way. That is unacceptable. But there's still a lot of time before we're making decisions like that. You're not wrong to say that, though. That's what he's going to be judged on, right? That's the deal. That's college sports today. This is, you're not getting a decade to figure this out, especially with Syracuse having missed the tournament 3 straight years and has not been ranked since December of 2018. Okay? That's not the orange standard. That is the standard you set, and you're not living up to it now. That's the macro, though. In the micro, did Syracuse play better in Brooklyn? I don't think there's any question about that. Do you have a little more faith they can play defense against good teams? I don't think there's any question about that. Are they starting to show they have some stars emerging? J.J. Starling, he had a weird hitch in his free throw shot tonight, but look, that guy had 27 points. He's getting shots off quicker from the three-point line, confident. He's smooth. He's crisp is the word that comes to mind in the paint. He is clearly a better player, right? Lampkin's fighting through that back injury, but brings you a presence in the paint. Freeman's got to get better, but, I mean, the dude played bad and had 13 rebounds tonight. Like, there are still things coming, and some other things we brought up earlier that I just don't have to repeat. This team's in a weird spot right now. It could go either way. How it develops as a team, how Autry's developing as a coach and finding the right things, leaning up against the pressure of college basketball today. So bottom line is, they left Brooklyn empty-handed with a chance. You at least had to split that, okay? You lose one close game, you win the next. I think everybody lives with that. But to walk out of Brooklyn without one of these quality wins in non-conference, that's going to sting. And it just puts more pressure on you to beat a Tennessee or a Maryland or maybe both. Or maybe both. We shall see. That's tonight. What's coming up here? Well, Syracuse football. UConn. Saturday afternoon, we'll be doing this very thing. Our Syracuse football postgame show after that one. Senior day at the Dome. Coach Mack, God love you. getting honored on the Ring of Honor. We'll be here for Syracuse football postgame after that matchup. A new episode of Syracuse Sports is coming your way Monday. Had a great conversation that you will hear with the rightful owner, in my mind, of the 1987 Heisman Trophy, the great Don McPherson. I'm also going to do a commentary about what Coach Jack had to say at her press conference the other night and the lack of fan support that the women's basketball team is getting. So look out for a new episode of Syracuse Sports coming your way on Monday. We've got Syracuse basketball postgame. Our next episode will be Wednesday, night before Thanksgiving. So the Orange take on Cornell at the Dome. So, woo, you are keeping me busy, friends, but that's a beautiful thing. Thank you for watching tonight. Thank you for listening. Whenever you're listening or watching, remember you can subscribe on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube so you can listen and watch on demand when you want. Thank you to our Syracuse Sports Insiders for subscribing, for your great feedback. As always, we'd love for you to join the party, friends. Join subtext.com/Syracuse Sports. That is an easy link to sign up to become a Syracuse Sports Insider. You can try it free for 2 weeks. It's just $3.99 a month after that. Look forward to getting your texts during the Syracuse-Connecticut football game and then highlighting some of the best commentary on our Syracuse football postgame show on Saturday afternoon after the Orange take on the Huskies. Thanks for listening and being a part of our postgame shows the past 2 nights. Unfortunately, Syracuse leaves Brooklyn empty-handed, losing to Texas Thursday night by 4, losing to Texas Tech on Friday night by 5, and now 3-2 on the season with work to do. This has been Syracuse basketball postgame presented by Krause Health. My name is Brent Axe. I'll talk to you again next time here, and you guys have a great rest of your weekend.